Yes.
Now,
Well, Graham realises that he's got to do some work this year.
Les Boyd, well, I always got the impression, I don't want to do Les a disservice, I got the impression he made the decision to leave Manly, but his heart stayed at Western Suburbs.
Oh, maybe that's a bit too hard on him, Rex. I think he's got a lot of friends at Western Suburbs, and particularly coach Roy Masters, that looked after him after that 76 season in Sydney, where he didn't play all that well and earned the wrath of the referees and so on. But Roy picked him up, and he was one of the great players in 78 and 79. But last year with Manly, only 13 matches. The New Zealand tour took some of those away, and of course...
Against Cronulla, when he scored all the Manly points. What a backstop to have. Got all the raps in the world, and of course that can't necessarily always be good for a young player to get a huge amount of raps. I don't know whether it affected Rick later on in the season. He wasn't able ever to emulate that form. He's not a bad player in some of the other games that I saw. I don't get to see a lot of reserve grade football. I'm working at the time it's on. But he never ever rose to that again, did he?
No.
I think for sheer frustration, the look on Greg Pearce's face, the Cronulla captain, as he looks at his players sprawled on the ground after Chisholm scored his second try. This shot now, there's Greg Pearce.
That nasty neck injury in the City Country game, he'd played well. And he looked like having a very big season with Manly, but it just wasn't to be. And then after he came back from that injury, he sustained a knee injury. So all in all, John had a bad season injury-wise, but he's training flat out at the moment, I've heard, and looking forward to this year.
Well, we had the terrible thought that he may have broken his neck last year. That was the frightful thing in the City Country game. And, you know, that would have been horrifying. But the footwork of the man, you know, they're probably... Steve Rogers is capable of that sort of thing, and that's about where it finishes in Sydney Rugby League.
And John Dorahy, yes.
John Dorahy and Steve Rogers, yes, we agree on that. They're probably the only two players that could have scored a try like this. We're delighted when this lad joined the club. He was bought as a utility player and a backup hooker. Max Krilic's form was such that he could never be left out of the Manly side as a hooker. Matter of fact, it's a wonder to me that he wasn't in the representative football. But I'm afraid Ray Brown, as a prop or a second rower, just didn't measure up.
No, and yet the year before he was playing all those positions with no tries.
Now, Russell Gardner is a better footballer than that. There were times last year one doubted his enthusiasm. Watching him play, they tell me this year he's bigger and just as fast, which will be a great plus for him. But he was a major disappointment last year, Russell Gardner, with so much talent. He's always been one of the most talented footballers I've ever seen since the time he was 8 or 9 years of age. That might sound extraordinary, but that kid, when he was 8, going around in Sydney Rugby League, Max Krilic, playing like a boy, still showing a step and a bit of a swerve, enthusiasm. He was Manly's best forward last year, bar none. That might be the last try he scored. That was 1904, that one, I think, viewers.
Yes, that's right.
He doesn't score a lot of tries, Max, but he knows the way to run. He knows the way to fend off. Very strong player. Sometimes his passes go astray, don't they, Max? But nobody could argue if everyone in the Manly pack last year had played like Krilic, Manly would have made the top 5 with comfort and perhaps could have gone on and done something better. Max was probably, well, indisputably the best finishing winger in rugby league. Last year he fell slightly from grace, still played well enough. Perhaps it's an indication of the lack of positive football from the people inside that he didn't look good and finish as well.
Yes, well, he scored 11 tries last season, Rex. The year before, as you said, he topped the Sydney try-scoring list with 16, and a lot of that the credit must go to Russell Gardner, I would think.
Yes, well, centres obviously have got a hell of a lot to do with the most stunningly, naturally gifted footballers that Manly's ever produced. The man has got most incredible pace, or did have until he had that frightful hamstring accident. These sort of tries, look at this. I mean, how many has he beaten? 5 or 6? He does that too often, or used to do that too often, to be a fluke. So you've got to really wonder about whether he's going to make a comeback. He's in the state touch football team. I'm told he's training the house down. I've always believed that his fundamentals were never great. Instance, this magnificent run and then dropping the ball